Have you ever looked at your life and realized you've checked all the boxes, the career, the stability, the title, but something still feels off? It's not broken, something just doesn't feel right. Today, we're talking about that moment when success stops feeling like success and what you're actually supposed to do next. Tina Roe is here. She's a career and leadership coach who helps women navigate those exact crossroads when who you are no longer matches who you're becoming. And so, Tina, thank you so much for being here. This is such a beautiful topic. We were talking about before we hit record on how the world's changing so much, and people are starting to look at their lives and they want to know who they are at their core. So, how are you today?
Thanks, Lisa. It is great to be here, and it is a great day. You know what? I am finding that the older I get, the more I'm just finding joy in every single day. And even like mundane stuff, like going to the grocery store, I'm like, you got to make it joyful, right? And I think that kind of to your introduction piece, people really are looking at their lives and going, hey, is this what it is? And is this all I get? And I think they're being more intentional in how they're living each day out, and that includes, their home life, their personal life, and then also their work life as well.
Absolutely. I feel like me included, so many women reach a point where everything looks successful, but it doesn't feel successful anymore. I've been through that so many times. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of women get caught up in, responsibility, loyalty, kind of the fear of the unknown, what's going to happen. And I'm wearing all of these different hats, and so much of our self-worth is actually tied to our productivity, which is kind of crazy because women just, we're supposed to be good moms, we're supposed to be good employees, employers, managers, leaders, whatever our title is, we carry a lot of that. And I think that, as you continue to move through your life, you could look at your career and it looks great on paper, and you're just like, wow, I've done everything I wanted to do. I'm making great money. I love what I'm doing, but there's still just that little voice inside that you're just unsettled and you're just kind of feeling stuck. And I think for a lot of women, it's that what you're doing, something's not quite right. Something's not aligned. And that could be career-wise. It also could be family-wise. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And so I think for most women being able to sit down and really get clear about what is causing that feeling of misalignment, and then looking at, okay, what is this and what do I need to do about it? And then making a decision and being able to move forward from that place.
Absolutely. I wanted to make the joke about, or is it hormones? But we won't go there. That's a whole other topic.
That is true. That is
Oh my
true.
gosh. It is tough. It's difficult being a woman in today's society. So, what do you think the signs are that someone has outgrown their current career or identity, but perhaps hasn't admitted it to themselves yet? Because you talked about this feeling of misalignment. So, that could come from a place of outgrowing something, right? Outgrowing their current life.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times, like burnout actually gets mistaken for growth. I think sometimes, even in a job or a career that you're doing, you can kind of look at it and go, gosh, I'm just really burnt out, but it's not really that. It's that you're growing, and maybe it's something else you're supposed to be doing within that current position or a different position in that company, or maybe something completely different altogether. For example, I love to share that, I've had five different careers over my life, and I left four of them, and four of them, I mean, were going really well. And for example, my real estate, I co-owned a real estate team, and I mean, we were doing phenomenally, winning awards, great customers, taking great care of people. Um, but it just started to not feel right. And it felt like, my business partner and I weren't on the same page anymore as far as what our goals were and kind of where we were going with the business. And that was really hard because a lot of people will look at you and say, why are you leaving something that's so successful? Why are you stepping away from that? And it
Yeah.
just didn't align with where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do with my future. And so I think that's really hard is, women feel guilty about wanting more. They feel guilty about not being happy that everything's amazing and you go to a dinner party and everybody's like, "Oh, your career looks great, your family looks great." And really inside you're just kind of wrestling with yourself. And people, women feel guilty about having feelings like that. But I think a lot of that is it's really important to, spend some time and really spend some time with yourself and figuring out, what is that really about? And kind of getting to the root of that unsettledness or that just, uneasy feeling about what you're currently doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be such a confusing moment because, like you said, um, we feel it on the inside, but on the outside, like society defines success a certain way. And so on paper, your life could look amazing, but on the inside, you just feel so disconnected. And that can be such a confusing time to be in. Tell us more about that moment for you. I'm sure the audience can relate to that.
Well, and I think, I started getting that feeling, every time I would go into the office of just that unsettled and I just started questioning. And I sat with myself, I kind of talked to some great advisors and some mentors that I have about, what exactly is this? And I just felt like at that point in my life, I was ready to do my own thing and not have the responsibility for others. I didn't want someone to look at me and, maybe I was gone traveling and I didn't want someone to look at me and say, "Hey, this person's not working or not doing enough," when, every time I ever traveled, I was always working. So, you know, but people just don't really know what that is. And so it's really just kind of sitting with it, talking with people that you trust that can help you kind of work through what is not working or what's making you feel that way. And, for me, it was a transition to a different career and doing something more in line with what, my energy is and what I give to the world. And that's kind of what has led me into my coaching is being able to take those experiences of leaving multiple jobs and all of them have been for different reasons. One of them, I opened up billion-dollar resorts in Las Vegas. And I loved that job. That was amazing. I mean, it was 80, 100-hour weeks toward the end. Just exciting. It was fast moving, fast paced, and I loved it. But my family really, that was a sacrifice for them because
Yeah.
of working like that. And so for me, it became, okay, here's a job that I love, but at what cost? Because
Mhm.
I'm tired. And, when I get home at the end of the day, I don't have a lot to give to my family, to my children and to my husband because I am working so much. So, that position was more of a family related situation that I left. Similar to, I was an Air Force veteran for 10 years, and my husband was also in the military. He was also an Air Force veteran, and he was gone a lot, deployed. And so I felt like our kids needed one stable parent that was going to be around. And
Mhm.
so again, I loved that job and I loved what I was doing, but at that time in my life, the pull was much more to, hey, you need to find something that you can do that, has unlimited potential, unlimited earnings, but that you can be there for your family at the same time.
Right, right. I was just going to ask you about alignment. So, when you mention alignment, what does that mean? So, what does it mean to be aligned?
So I think aligned is just knowing, it's like a knowing, like kind of deal where you just feel good about what you're doing and you feel like it matches with your energy, your personality, your drive, and that it's the best version of yourself.
Mm.
Each day is exciting and you just have a calmness about it because, success is constantly evolving. It's not static. It's just constantly evolving. And what we deem as success in our 20s and 30s we might not deem that as success when we get to that 40 or 50-year-old person. And so, you're kind of working through where is that alignment each place, because it's coming at you and you just want to make sure that you feel good about who you are and your time because gosh, I just feel like lately, and I don't know how you think about this, Lisa, but um, I feel like, you just never know when your last day is coming and you don't want to, it's like they always say, right? You don't want to be on your deathbed and go, oh, I wish I had more time at the office. But I think people are really, really looking at that a lot more than they used to. And I think the maybe the negative connotation of switching jobs a lot and things like that are kind of going away. I tell our daughters, find something that you love. And you know what? If you love it and it's going great, stick with it. But if you go and you do something and you get into that job and you're just like, oh, this was not what I thought it was going to be. And I don't feel good every day. And I don't feel like this matches with my personality and mostly your energy, right? Matching with your energy, then go find something that does. I mean, we're not meant to be on this earth to suffer and be miserable. We're just not.
No. Yeah, I know. Like when you reach your 40s, like I just turned 40. I'm going to be 42. It's like success is defined so differently to me now.
Mhm.
And a lot of that comes from protecting my peace. It's like you go through all of these phases and these shifts and you realize what is actually important. And then I'm not discounting the hustle because I do really respect people who do like hustle and have these careers that they love. But for me, I had to look at my own life and I was like, what's important for me? What do I value? What do I need? And so what I need is different from what you need and what someone else down the street needs. And that's
Right?
okay. I think there's a big part of this, though, that is a huge fear, and that's that identity loss tied to success. And I think a lot of women struggle with that. How do you feel about that? Have you struggled with that fear of losing your identity tied to whatever success you were building?
I think the identity thing as you get older plays less and less of a role. I think when you're younger, it's definitely something you think about and look at a lot more. Whereas I think like even kind of alignment, it's not just about your career anymore. It's about the whole life. Like, how does it all work together? And I think identity wise, um, you know, being a military veteran, I mean, I had a title there. I had a title as a resort executive. I had a title as an owner, and as an entrepreneur. I mean, we just have so many titles. And I think as your life shifts over the years, I think we learn that the titles aren't as important as how present we are in those portions of time in our lives. And even for me, I mean, I look back sometimes and I'm like, man, I was on the phone all the time when my kids were younger. And now that they're in their 20s, I love spending time with them and really, I mean, I work really hard to be present and put my phone away and go out to dinner and things like that and spend time with them, special girls trips and things like that. Um, because the identity is hard, we've been ingrained to, we've all been called, something. We're a mother, we're a daughter, we're a boss, an employee, we're a director. I mean, and we just have attached on so hard to those titles, but those titles aren't really who we are. It's kind of like the athlete who competes for years and years, and then when they retire from their sport, who are they if they're not an athlete anymore? Well, you're a human being and you're an amazing person that has a lot to give society. And I think it's really just kind of changing how you think about yourself and not titling so much and not putting your identity so hardcore into that title.
Totally. There's been so many Olympic athletes who have woken up after winning the gold medal depressed. Can you
Oh,
imagine
yes.
that? You work
Yep.
your butt off, you win the gold medal, and the next day you wake up and you're depressed. Like that's just
Well, and
bizarre, but it makes so much sense.
yep. And you know what, Lisa, when I finished opening when Las Vegas and we had been working just hours and hours, I went through the same depression because, I had a radio and a pager and a cell phone, and it was nonstop. I mean, you're rolling stuff in the door as they're about to open the doors to the guests, and you're trying to
Mhm.
finish all this setup. And then once it's open to the public, then as part of the construction team and the opening team, our side got quiet because all of the operations staff, they're busy dealing with, all the customers and the clients, the restaurants are open, the spa's open. And so all of the things that were really important that were going on, now your phone doesn't ring at all. And
Right.
it was really hard to go from just that crazy busy to, whoa, this is quiet. And I've even found myself just coming into where I'm at now is it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to not have my phone ringing all the time. It's okay. It's okay. And I think that that's really hard because I always had that inner voice just going, you should be doing something. Like, what are you doing
Hmm.
right now? You need to be doing something. You should be doing something. And you have to really learn. And I've done a lot of quiet time and with meditation and just different mindset things just to really learn how to listen to myself and to allow myself to just have those joyful moments of peace and
Hmm.
and really listen to what my body and my brain, what is it saying to me.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's incredibly brave because a lot of people have a really hard time looking at themselves in their life and sitting in that stillness. So Tina, we talked about guilt, that women feel guilt or shame for wanting more, even when they already have a lot.
Mhm.
And we also talked about staying in the wrong role, excuse me, for too long. How does that start to erode in one's life if you're staying in the wrong situation for too long?
I think if you stay in a place that you should not be staying, it affects everything about you. I mean, it can affect your health. It can affect how you interact with others. I mean, it is a whole body, impact when you stay somewhere because every day you get up and you're like, oh gosh, I just really, do I have to do this or I don't want to do this or gosh, I don't want to be here. And you know, I am learning to protect my energy from all those energy suckers out there that try to take it from you. And I think that when you stay in a place too long and you know that it's not the right place, it's just not good for you overall. And you're going to see that in your relationships with others. You're going to see that in how you feel day to day. And your long-term health, it's not good for your long-term health to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge risk, right? If you know something's off and you push through, push through, push through, eventually the universe takes it away from you. It makes it harder and harder and harder. So what would you say to someone who might be listening right now and they're like, oh my God, this is me. I'm miserable. I do not like my life. What is the first thing that they need to do? Like, how do they start gaining clarity without essentially blowing up their life?
I think, finding someone that you can be really honest with and talk to, it's sitting down and really getting clear. A lot of that clarity comes from your values and knowing what's really important and how you're valuing your job, your family, your marriage, your relationships, you just all of those things, being able to kind of sit down and really dissect that and go, okay, here's are really the things that are the most important to me. And why am I miserable or why do I feel this way? Is it that I don't get enough support at home, or is it that, I feel like I deserve a promotion at work? I mean, there's so many different aspects in that, but number one, I think you really have to get clear. And some people can get clear just by sitting and spending time with themselves. And then other people need to reach out to someone that can help them, that can help kind of work through that and help them figure out what exactly it is that is bothering them or is making it so that, they feel that stuck or unsettledness inside.
Absolutely. So then how do you think you move from that confusion to clarity to confident action? And what are some steps that people can take to move towards the action, the clarity?
So I think once you're able to get clear, whether that's working through that yourself or working through that with another person, trying to figure out, your values and what you're really looking for, then it's figuring out a plan. Because most people, unless something really bad happens, most people don't just walk into their office and go, I quit,
No,
and walk out the door. I mean, most people cannot afford to do that. And so then it's actually sitting down and creating a plan for, okay, I know that I don't want to do this job in the next 6 months. So, what do I need to do between now and the next 6 months so that I can walk away? And it's really setting up that plan of, okay, maybe I need to start setting aside some extra money every month so that I have a little bit of buffer in my bank account so that if it takes me longer to get another position, then it's not going to hit me so hard in the pocketbook. Um, maybe it's that I want to pick up a side hustle. What kind of side hustle really speaks to you? I think that sometimes the side hustles, they're really great, but I think sometimes people underestimate how much money, they may need to put into those side hustles to get them going or the energy level. And maybe that's not really what they wanted to do. They really wanted to do something else, but they just weren't sure. So, once you've got the clarity, then it's sitting down and creating your plan for how are you going to exit what it is you're doing. And for some people, it's not the exit. Some people, maybe it's the change. Maybe it's asking for more money. Maybe it's asking for a promotion, or maybe that company has an office in a different location, and maybe that's really what you want to do. So it's really figuring out what is it that matches with what you're looking for, what's aligned with your vision and your energy, and then setting that plan out and then taking steps toward making that actually come to fruition in the timeline that you have decided.
totally, totally. But so how do you balance logic and intuition when making a big career shift? Because there's always the logical brain and then like the mystic, the one that is manifesting, the two brains are fighting each other. How do you balance the two?
I think balancing the two can be a little bit challenging, but I think, when you do your research and you look, like the person who comes into and says, hey, I'm going to leave this job and I'm going to go start a business. I'm going to make, oh, I don't know. Let's see, what can we make today? I'm going to make a product and they haven't done any research and they don't know what that looks like and they don't know how much money that's going to cost them to start that. I mean, most small businesses are taking years, to get there. Now, some people are able to get there really quickly and other people it just takes a little bit longer. Um, so I think you do have to look at what logically makes sense and financially, are we swapping one for one? I mean, if we have a job that makes $80,000 a year and then we're going to go down to a job, we're going to work at a horse stable or something and, maybe we're going to make 50,000, but you're going to be really happy and you're going to love it. Is that doable? I mean, is that something that your family can do and that works for you? Or is there something else you have to do, maybe part-time? Or is there something that can create that, that horse stable business to be the $80,000? So I think there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that's why so many women do get stuck is because they don't want to destabilize their life. They don't want to blow it up and they just don't know what to do. And so they just are frozen with that paralysis of, okay, I just know I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know what to do. And I don't know how to either match my income or maybe a little bit less, or I want to do something big and how to kind of manage the logical and fun part of, hey, this is what I would really love to do. And if I could make $1 million, making pottery, I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really It's fun too. I know years ago when I was in an office position, I started taking up little side hustles just to see, and I started playing in different
Mhm.
avenues. And just by dabbling and playing, that gave me confidence and it gave me like a different view on what business looked like for me. And so
Mhm.
seeing that I could balance my role in that office position and then take on a side hustle. And then it just gave me this, like I said, this newfound confidence that, man, if I can do this, I can do anything. And so then things just kind of line up. Sometimes you have to just dabble in a few things to see what kind of lights you up. Because, like we talked about earlier, like I don't think a lot of people really know who they are. And I think that's really important for people to really start looking at their lives and asking, who am I without everything else around me, without my family, without my job? And that's where the passions come from. Like that's where that place of playfulness comes from. Like I love what you said about going to the grocery store and having fun. Like that's so what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be childlike in our everyday. What do you think some mistakes are that people make when they're trying to reinvent themselves?
I think they don't really look at what it is that lights them up. Like I think that they
Mhm.
think they know, but they don't really know. And I think maybe sometimes they jump into something that they just kind of guessed that this would work, and then they jump into that, and then people give up pretty quickly too, and so then maybe they jump into that, it doesn't work out, and then they just are like, I'm done. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna stay here, and this is just my life. And no, it isn't just your life. It's not meant to be your life like that. I mean, and to your point, you absolutely, getting back to kind of the childlike, where we didn't have responsibilities and we didn't have all of these hats that we're wearing, and figure out what do you enjoy doing. And it might not mean that you leave your job. It might mean that you stay at your job, but you know what? Once a week you go paint pottery,
Mhm.
or you go to some other dance class, or you pick up something else that makes your life amazing and brings that joy back into your life. And maybe you figure out a way, through different options to say, hey, you know what? I can stick this out. I just need to stick out 2 more years at this job, and then I'm going to go do this. I mean, there's so many different things that you can put into play to create, that aligned life, whether it's adding to your current career or it's changing your career altogether. But I love that you were able to kind of dabble in different things, because again, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And until you do it and go, oh, okay, I thought this was going to be cool. But I mean, you have to be excited about it all. And if you want to go be a business owner and an entrepreneur, you have to figure out a way to be like, I'm so excited that I get to build a website today. And I am so excited that I get to make sales calls. And I am so excited that, you know, I get to wear every hat in my business myself. I'm the
Yeah.
CFO, I'm the CEO, I'm the COO. I mean, I get to do it all. I'm marketing, I'm advertising, I'm the web designer. I mean, you're everything. So it gives you a great opportunity to see what things you enjoy doing and what things you don't enjoy doing.
Absolutely. So, what does sustainable aligned success look like?
Lisa, I think that's different for every person, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I know what my aligned success looks like, and, it's getting up and being excited about what I get to do and the women I get to talk to, and the women that I get to help. For every person, their aligned life and what that success is going to be different. And I think that part's really exciting, because you do have the ability to create an amazing life, but you have to you have to go out and you have to take action. You have to have plans, and you just have to believe. You have to work a lot on your mindset, because our minds like to lie to us and just hold us back with all the guilt and all that other stuff and all the shaming and things like that. So, you know, you've got to work on those things, but everyone can have an aligned life if that's truly what they really want.
Yeah, I love that. When someone finally shifts and steps into something that truly fits them, like some of your clients that you've worked with, what do you see? What shifts when someone finally steps into alignment?
Like a relief,
Mm.
like there's just so much relief that oh my gosh, I don't have to do that anymore. Or I am finally in the right place and I'm on the right path for what I want for myself, my family, my future. Um, and they're more confident. They're confident in the way they carry themselves because they're living an aligned life with what it is they really wanted. And, we've helped make those shifts and we've helped get them into those positions where, again, it's either maybe you stay in that same career or maybe you're switching to a different career. But it's just the overall relief and the happiness. I see a lot of joy and happiness with, I just feel so much better about what I do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so rewarding. I think this is such an important conversation because so many people think feeling something like this means something is wrong with them. And right. So, but what you're actually saying is it might mean that something is actually ready to change. And so, Tina, tell us more about the work that you do and where people can find you.
Well, currently, I'm working with established women who are feeling stuck or they're unfulfilled and in their careers and they want to transition into aligned roles with a clear strategic plan. Because as we know and as we've talked about, most people don't want to just walk in and blow it all up. They need a plan and they want to move forward with that plan. And if there's anyone out there that is listening to this podcast today and those things are resonating with you and you feel like you're stuck and you just don't know whether you should make a move or not, I'd love to have a conversation with you. We do just a quick 20-minute clarity call to see if there's a way that I possibly could help you with that. So that is what I'm doing. And like I said, I love being able to help women just really clear through all the clutter and clear through everything that's being thrown at them to figure out what it is they really want in their careers and whether they should transition or not.
I love that you're supporting women. That's so special. It's so needed, especially these days. So, Tina, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing about what you do and about such an important topic.
Well, Lisa, I really appreciate you having me on today. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to our audience, if this episode hit you, if you're in a space where your life looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel right anymore, then this is your sign to start paying attention. So we'll have Tina's information in the show notes so you can connect with her directly. And as always, we'll see you next time on the next episode. Take care, everybody.